Imagine waking up tonight at 2:17 a.m. Again, staring at the ceiling, frustrated, thinking your bladder is the problem, or maybe you're just getting older. But what if I told you that millions of people waking up at night to urinate actually experiencing something completely different happening inside their body, something most doctors never explain, and something that can often be improved with a simple 5-minute nightly reset? And before we go further, I want you to do one quick thing, because this information could genuinely change how you sleep for years to come. So take a second right now to like the video and subscribe to the channel, because every week we share research-based health insights designed to help you sleep deeper, live longer, and understand what your body is really trying to tell you. Now let's talk about what's really happening, because waking up multiple times during the night to urinate, a condition researchers call noxuria, affects nearly 1 in 3 adults over the age of 40, according to sleep and urology studies. Yet the surprising truth is that the bladder is often not the main cause at all. In fact, many people produce more urine at night because their body's internal rhythm that regulates fluid balance becomes disrupted by stress hormones, poor sleep cycles, dehydration patterns during the day, and even artificial light exposure late at night, which means your kidneys are simply doing what your brain's signals tell them to do. And when those signals are slightly off, your body ends up producing more nighttime urine than necessary, waking you again and again, even though your bladder itself may be perfectly healthy. Researchers studying sleep physiology at several universities have found that the hormone vasopressin, sometimes called the antidiuretic hormone, normally increases during the night to reduce urine production so you can sleep uninterrupted for 7 to 8 hours. But modern lifestyles filled with late night screen use, irregular sleep schedules, caffeine timing, and chronic stress can interfere with the brain's ability to release this hormone properly. And when that happens, the kidneys continue filtering fluid at a daytime rate, which fills the bladder faster and triggers the urge to wake up even if your body desperately needs deeper sleep. This is why many people notice that they wake up at almost the exact same time every night, because their circadian rhythm has been trained into a pattern where the body is slightly overproducing urine at predictable intervals. And this can become even more noticeable as people age, not necessarily because the bladder becomes weaker, but because sleep becomes lighter and hormonal timing becomes slightly less precise, meaning the brain wakes more easily when the bladder sends even a mild signal. Another overlooked factor is the way fluid shifts in the body throughout the day, especially for people who sit for long periods or stand for work, because fluid can accumulate in the legs due to gravity, and when you lie down at night, that fluid redistributes back into circulation, increasing kidney filtration and urine production for several hours after you fall asleep, which explains why many people experience their first nighttime bathroom trip within the first 3 hours of sleep. What's fascinating is that clinical sleep research shows that improving pre-sleep circulation, reducing evening stress signals, and supporting the body's natural hormone rhythm can significantly reduce nighttime awakenings for many individuals without medications. And this is where the idea of a simple nightly reset becomes powerful, because small habits done consistently can signal the brain that nighttime has truly begun, encouraging deeper sleep cycles and more efficient fluid regulation. Think about how modern evenings look for most people: bright lights, scrolling on phones, checking emails, watching intense shows, eating late dinners, and sometimes drinking beverages right before bed, all of which send mixed signals to the body's internal clock, essentially telling the brain that daytime stimulation is still happening, even though the body is supposed to transition into rest mode. And this confusion can disrupt the cascade of hormones that normally prepare the body for uninterrupted sleep. When you understand that your nighttime wake-ups may actually be a signal from your circadian rhythm rather than just your bladder, you start to see why a 5-minute reset routine designed to calm the nervous system and stabilize the body's fluid balance can make a meaningful difference. And over the next few minutes, we're going to walk through exactly what that reset looks like and why each step works according to current sleep science. But before we move forward, I want to ask you something important because your experience matters here. If you've ever woken up at night to use the bathroom more than once, type the word awake in the comments below, because seeing how many people share this struggle helps others realize they're not alone. And it also helps this video reach viewers who desperately need better sleep tonight. The first step in the 5-minute reset actually begins long before your head hits the pillow, because your body's hydration rhythm throughout the day plays a surprisingly powerful role in how often you wake at night. And studies on fluid timing show that many people unintentionally drink too little water earlier in the day, and then consume a large portion of their fluids in the evening after dinner, which forces the kidneys to process that fluid right when the body should be slowing down, creating a cycle where nighttime urination becomes almost inevitable. And researchers analyzing daily hydration patterns have found that distributing water intake more evenly between morning and afternoon can significantly reduce nighttime urine production, because the body has more time to process fluids before sleep begins. However, the reset technique we're discussing tonight focuses specifically on the final minutes before bed, because this is when you can send powerful signals to your brain that the active part of the day is finished. And the first part of this routine involves a surprisingly simple circulation reset that takes less than 2 minutes, but can influence how fluid redistributes in your body during sleep. If you spend much of the day sitting, standing, or traveling, fluid can accumulate in the lower legs and ankles due to gravity, and when you lie down, that fluid moves back into circulation, increasing kidney filtration and nighttime urine production, which means one effective strategy is gently elevating your legs for a short period before bed, allowing some of that fluid to redistribute earlier in the evening rather than all at once after you fall asleep. Even something as simple as lying on the bed or couch and placing your legs slightly elevated against a pillow or wall for 2 minutes can encourage this shift, and research in sleep medicine has shown that this small habit may reduce the amount of fluid the kidneys process during the first half of the night. After this circulation step comes the second component of the reset, which focuses on calming the nervous system, because stress hormones like cortisol can indirectly influence nighttime awakening by keeping the brain in a semi-alert state. And when the brain remains alert, it is more likely to wake in response to minor signals from the bladder that would normally be ignored during deep sleep. A simple breathing pattern can help signal safety to the nervous system, slowing the heart rate and encouraging the release of relaxation neurotransmitters. And one commonly studied technique involves inhaling slowly through the nose for 4 seconds, holding for 2 seconds, and then exhaling gently through the mouth for 6 seconds, repeating this pattern several times while keeping shoulders relaxed. Within about 90 seconds, this breathing rhythm can begin shifting the body toward parasympathetic dominance, the state associated with rest and recovery, which makes it easier for the brain to enter deeper sleep cycles where bladder signals are less likely to cause full awakenings. The third part of the reset addresses light exposure, something most people overlook even though it directly affects melatonin in production and circadian rhythm timing. And exposure to bright screens or overhead lights right before bed can suppress melatonin in release, delaying the body's transition into night mode and interfering with the hormonal signals that regulate urine production during sleep. Dimming lights in the final 15 minutes before bed or using warmer lighting can encourage the brain to release melatonin naturally, reinforcing the nighttime rhythm that supports deeper sleep and more stable hormone patterns. When these small actions are combined, improving fluid timing earlier in the day, redistributing leg fluid before bed, calming the nervous system through breathing, and reducing bright light exposure, the body receives a consistent message that the day is ending and nighttime restoration can begin. And over time, this consistency can help retrain the circadian rhythm so that nighttime urine production decreases and sleep becomes more continuous. The important thing to remember is that the body thrives on rhythm and repetition, so performing the same simple reset routine each night can gradually reinforce the signals that support uninterrupted sleep. And while it may sound almost too simple to work, many sleep specialists emphasize that the most powerful interventions are often the ones that align with the body's natural biology rather than forcing it through medications or drastic measures. In the next part of this script, we're going to dive deeper into additional hidden factors that trigger nighttime awakenings and how a few overlooked habits during the evening can either sabotage or dramatically improve your sleep quality. And if you're finding this information helpful so far, take a moment to like the video and share it with someone who constantly complains about waking up at night, because better sleep is one of the most powerful upgrades anyone can give their health. Many people are surprised when they learn that nighttime awakenings are not always caused by the bladder filling too quickly, but by the brain exiting deep sleep too easily. And understanding this single idea can completely change the way you approach the problem, because during the night, your brain cycles through different sleep stages, including light sleep, deep sleep, and REM sleep. And when these cycles remain stable, the body is capable of ignoring minor physical signals, including mild bladder pressure. But when sleep becomes fragmented, the brain becomes more sensitive and wakes up even for signals that normally would not disturb you. Studies in sleep medicine have shown that adults who experience frequent nighttime awakenings often spend less time in slow-wave deep sleep, which is the stage where the brain disconnects from outside stimuli and focuses on physical recovery, hormone regulation, and cellular repair. When deep sleep is shortened, the brain spends more time in lighter stages where it can easily respond to small discomforts, noises, or internal signals. And this is why someone might wake up feeling a strong urge to urinate, even though the bladder volume is relatively small. Researchers examining sleep disruption have identified several evening habits that quietly sabotage deep sleep without people realizing it. And one of the most common factors is late caffeine consumption. Many individuals believe caffeine only affects them for a few hours, yet research from sleep laboratories shows that caffeine can remain active in the body for 6 to 8 hours or even longer, depending on metabolism, meaning that a cup of coffee at 4 or 5 in the evening can still stimulate the brain when you are trying to enter deep sleep at night. This stimulation does not always prevent sleep entirely, but it can make sleep shallower, increasing the likelihood of waking when the bladder sends even a minor signal. Another overlooked habit is late heavy meals, particularly meals high in salt or processed carbohydrates, because sodium influences fluid balance and can cause the body to retain water during the evening, which then becomes redistributed later at night when you lie down, increasing your production during the early hours of sleep. Nutrition studies also suggest that large meals close to bedtime may activate digestion processes that keep the nervous system more alert, again preventing the brain from settling into the deep, restorative sleep that protects you from frequent awakenings. Temperature regulation is another hidden factor because the body naturally lowers its core temperature when preparing for sleep. And if the bedroom environment is too warm, the brain struggles to enter deep sleep cycles effectively. Sleep scientists often recommend a slightly cooler bedroom, typically around 18 to 20 degrees Celsius, because this environment supports the body's natural cooling process and encourages deeper, more stable sleep stages. When sleep becomes deeper and more continuous, many people naturally experience fewer nighttime awakenings, even without changing anything about their bladder itself. Light exposure also plays a role that extends beyond the moments before bed, because the circadian rhythm that controls sleep hormones begins adjusting hours earlier in the evening, and exposure to intense artificial light during this period can delay melatonin in release, shifting the body's internal clock later into the night. When melatonin is delayed, the entire sleep schedule can shift slightly, causing the brain to remain in lighter sleep for longer periods where awakenings become more likely. Even something as simple as switching to dimmer lighting or warmer colored bulbs in the evening can gently reinforce the body's expectation that nighttime is approaching. Another fascinating factor discovered in sleep research is the relationship between stress and nocturnal awakenings, because when the brain perceives ongoing stress, it maintains a state of partial alertness during sleep, almost as if it is on guard for potential threats. In this state, the brain remains more responsive to internal signals, including bladder pressure, which means that even small amounts of urine can trigger waking. Techniques that calm the nervous system before bed therefore serve a dual purpose. They help the mind relax, and they also allow the brain to ignore minor sensations that would otherwise interrupt sleep. Many people who adopt relaxation routines such as slow breathing, gentle stretching, or quiet reflection notice that their nighttime awakenings gradually decrease over several weeks because the brain relearns how to enter deeper stages of rest. If you are listening to this and realizing that several of these habits sound familiar, remember that the goal is not perfection but gradual improvement, because small adjustments repeated consistently often lead to the greatest long-term changes in sleep quality. In the next section, we will explore the final elements of the 5-minute reset and how combining them into a simple nightly routine can help retrain your body's internal clock so that your night can become quieter, deeper, and far less interrupted. And if this information is already giving you new insights about your own sleep patterns, take a moment right now to write in the comments what time you usually wake up during the night, because your experience might help someone else recognize the same pattern in their own life. Now imagine what your nights would feel like if your body expected uninterrupted rest instead of repeated awakenings, because the most powerful part of the 5-minute reset is consistency and the message it sends to your brain night after night. The final step of the reset involves creating a predictable transition from daytime activity into nighttime recovery, something our ancestors experienced naturally as the sun set and darkness slowly filled the environment, but something modern life has almost completely erased with constant light, digital stimulation, and irregular schedules. When the brain receives a consistent signal that bedtime has arrived, it begins releasing a coordinated cascade of hormones, including melatonin and growth hormone, while reducing alertness signals like cortisol, and this shift prepares the body for deeper sleep stages where physical restoration, memory processing, and immune repair occur. A simple way to create this transition is by establishing a small ritual that happens every night in the same order and roughly the same time, even if the entire process takes only a few minutes. After completing the earlier steps of redistributing leg fluid and calming the nervous system with breathing, you can reinforce the signal of nighttime by dimming the lights, putting away digital devices, and allowing the environment to become quieter and calmer. This predictable pattern teaches the brain to associate those specific actions with sleep preparation, making it easier to fall asleep quickly and remain asleep longer. Sleep psychologists often refer to this as conditioning the mind for rest, similar to how athletes train their bodies through repetition until movements become automatic. Over time, your brain begins to recognize the routine and gradually shifts into sleep mode even before your head touches the pillow. Another element that strengthens this process is maintaining a relatively consistent sleep schedule, because the circadian rhythm functions like an internal clock that thrives on regularity. Going to bed and waking up at dramatically different times each day confuses the rhythm that regulates hormone release, body temperature, and fluid balance, which can indirectly increase nighttime awakenings. While life does not always allow perfect consistency, aiming to keep bedtime and wake time within roughly the same window each day can significantly improve sleep stability over several weeks. Research from circadian rhythm laboratories has shown that even a difference of 1 hour in bedtime from day to day can disrupt hormone timing enough to affect sleep quality and nighttime urination patterns. Exposure to natural daylight during the morning also plays an important role because sunlight helps anchor the circadian clock, telling the brain when daytime truly begins so that nighttime hormones can be released at the correct time later in the evening. Spending even 10 to 15 minutes outside in natural light shortly after waking can strengthen this rhythm and indirectly support deeper sleep later that night. When you combine morning daylight exposure, balanced hydration earlier in the day, reduced evening stimulation, the 5-minute nighttime reset routine, and a relatively stable sleep schedule, you create an environment where the body can regulate fluid balance and sleep cycles more efficiently. Over time, many people discover that their nighttime awakenings become less frequent and that they wake feeling more refreshed in the morning. Of course, it is always important to consult a healthcare professional if frequent nighttime urination persists or is accompanied by pain, sudden changes, or other concerning symptoms. But for a large number of people, the issue is connected more to sleep rhythm and lifestyle patterns than to serious bladder conditions. The encouraging truth is that the body has an incredible ability to rebalance itself when given the right signals and enough consistency. By practicing this reset night after night, you are essentially teaching your brain that nighttime is meant for deep, uninterrupted rest rather than repeated awakenings. If you found this video helpful and want more science-based insights that improve sleep, energy, and long-term health, make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss the next video. Also share this video with a friend or family member who constantly wakes up during the night because better sleep can transform every part of life from mood and focus to metabolism and heart health. And finally, before you go, tell us in the comments how many times you usually wake up at night, because your response might encourage someone else to start improving their sleep tonight.